We got tape to roll. It's cool.
And then it just blows up the camera.
No. That would be the worst. I don't have another high definition camera. That would end the show.
We have an iPhone 5S. We're fine.
That would end the show. No. Who's 5S?
Welcome back to Leveled Up Conversations, where we take conversations
to the next level.
Surprise.
I'm still your host, Shane Simmons, and we're still recapping the first 3 episodes that we did. We got through about half of it. We want to finish up with the second half in this episode, so let's dive into that now.
I'm really glad you brought those games up, because Disney purchased LucasArts.
Yes.
A huge developer.
And canned the Boba Fett game, the like level
1313?
Yeah.
1313. I was looking forward to that. It got canceled and I was really looking forward to it, but it looked really cool.
Well, with the LucasArts being purchased and stuff like that, I've been playing Battlefield 4 for the last couple days, and I'm not much of a Battlefield fan, but it's a good game. But the only thing I can think the whole time is, oh my god, this is what Battlefront's going to be like. Yes. Because it's going to be running the Frostbite engine. It's going to be, I don't know if it's made by DICE or just using their engine, but it's through EA, which, But the Frostbite engine for this game, like the whole time I'm like, and then the guy's just going to come through the wall with the lightsaber and he's going to mess me up and it's going to be okay because he came through the wall with the lightsaber. So that's what I'm excited about, and that was totally just an off tangent. But anyways.
No, even to take it away.
I'm excited too.
Even to take it away from Star Wars, just because it has a Lucas name, but LucasArts can put some input into maybe an Avengers game.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Disney now owns everything.
Right.
And if they play their cards right, they have the resources to make a great superhero game.
And we also see the tie-in again, just keep bringing it up, but with Kingdom Hearts. Like Square Enix is responsible for Kingdom Hearts, and Disney Interactive as well, so they have these other developers now, like, with them, they are in contact with while they're releasing these movies, while they're releasing the Marvel movies, so we might start to see more great games by great developers.
Thank you, Disney.
Last point about this episode is just wanted to let you guys know that we're going to have sequels. That was one of the big things about the second episode, is we got a lot of different opinions saying, hey, you didn't bring this up, we didn't mention this. And also, in the episode, there were a lot of things that we wanted to go into, just because of time, didn't have the opportunity to. So we're going to be having 2 more episodes, all based on the same topic of why are there no other great superhero games, getting other people's point of view on it as well. Alright, moving to the 3rd episode, comments we got here. So YouTube, Lucas Long says, new set, Wicked Dog.
I think the best thing would be this majestic wolf.
It is.
Back behind us.
Majestic is...
I don't think we can see it that much in this shot, but it's very...
Yeah,
very
if you guys want to
majestic.
see an amazing majestic wolf, watch the 3rd video.
Did you just say wolf?
You said
wolf. I mean, it's relevant.
What?
Wolf.
There's an L in there.
Oh.
Wolf. Not
so,
wolf.
Interesting story.
Go home, Shane. You're drunk.
No. Interesting story about that. I can't say wolf, or bowl.
You just said it.
Bowl, like a bowl that you eat out of. I say bowl.
All right.
Like a bowl, like with horns.
Exactly. But the funny thing is through basketball, like played basketball 6th grade on, and if someone's coming up behind the person, they're like dribbling, someone's running up behind them, sneaking up, you yell wolf, and someone would go running up behind one of my teammates, and I'd just start barking at them, right? I'd be like, woof, 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 and everyone would just start laughing, and then
you
lose the
redeemed
ball.
yourself.
Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with the scotch. That's how I say that word. So
it's good. Now I feel like I know more about you.
Okay,
there you go. It's very revealing.
Just these little secrets.
That was kind of cheating. It's outside of those 30 seconds.
Just sneaking it in there. You cheated. I cheated. You didn't cheat, but I'm so mad at you.
Still cheat.
Making everybody else look bad. Thanks, Lucas, for that comment. I appreciate it. YouTube, again, Sean Murphy. Now, this is a big one. Sean Murphy said, nostalgia... Oh, first of all, what was the 3rd episode?
Oh, yeah, nostalgia versus quality.
Yeah, because quantity versus quality. Quality won, needed a new opponent, so we got in nostalgia. That's scotch. Sean Murphy said, nostalgia is a double-edged sword that we take for granted. It puts developers in the position where they want to release something new, yet as fans, we're all expecting the same awesomeness we're used to. He goes on to say another aspect is how well these games stand the test of time, like Zelda or Mario, or the lack of standing the test of time, like GoldenEye. Because trying to play a shooter with only one stick is terrible, which me and Lucas know because he still has his Nintendo 64 and we picked it up. And he ends with, sometimes the memories are better left to memories. Now the whole thing, hashtag paraphrased, because it was a huge comment. Awesome, I absolutely loved it, and we hope to see more comments like this. But how do you guys feel about what Sean had to say?
Some points he's right, but when I think about those games that I loved, for me it was the story of the game. The Ocarina of Time, sorry. One of my favorite games, and I loved that story. I loved the jumping back and forth in time and the way that was laid out. More recently, a game that has still stuck with me was The Last of Us.
Oh my god.
And that
So
game,
good. I cried twice.
that game was so
I cried 2 times.
Giraffes will save the world.
Oh my god.
That game was so good because of the story. I was so engaged with it. I think you can still take these characters and make great stories with them, and that will set it apart more from the nostalgia. This is a great game because of the story. It's compelling, and I want to keep going. That's what I remember most about a lot of games, besides playing Street Fighter until midnight when I was a little kid.
Because that was late.
That was super late.
Oh,
Super late. But playing those games, that has a different nostalgia.
Past your bedtime right now.
Yes, past my 8-year-old bedtime. But that's a different type of nostalgia for me. I look back on those games and it was more of playing with friends, and that was nostalgic. And then
Right.
those other games that I think of fondly was the story drove that game.
You know what? Out of all the N64 games I have, I don't think 80 of them are story-based. Now that I have like 20, and I still have with me.
Before everyone stops watching, it's mad at you. You do not have which main game?
What?
Which main game for the Nintendo 64 do you not own?
I do not own the Ocarina of Time.
Thank you. Okay, so that's
So
why
there's
he's saying
that.
this. That's why this holds ground.
Well,
But-
I think the Nintendo 64, different about that was the fact that it was the first console that did 3D, not the 3D popping out at you, the
3D animation.
Yeah.
right. But that 3D animation, and a lot of that too was getting used to making games inside of that world, and then later on is where you would get more of the story-based games. But yeah, a lot of them were like, oh cool, look at these graphics, it looks so great. We
I'm
do
thinking
shooters.
now though, I haven't thought of this. I don't have any games that are story-based until I got the GameCube. Until then, they were strictly gameplay. They had a story, but no one cared about it.
Right.
It was all the gameplay.
Well, a lot of games back then too were limited on how much memory the cartridge could hold. So you could only do so much in that, and a lot of them, again, if we go back to the original Mario, there's kind of a story. It's the hero saving a princess.
Yeah.
You killed the turtle with spikes, right? That was the story.
Right, but I mean
Yeah.
that's
And
as
another
in depth.
castle.
How come I can never get that far?
That's
Level
as-
2, 3.
It's gonna be okay, Louis. It's gonna be okay.
That's as in depth as Mario or games could get, because it was more like, oh, this is fun, and that was different. And then as we got to consoles that could hold more on a cartridge or a disc, then you could start adding more story elements into it.
Well, I feel like it wasn't, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I don't feel like it was impossible to do it back then. It was just really, really difficult.
Although I do take that back, because one of the best, I believe it was Super Nintendo games, Earthbound.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Original Nintendo. Super?
SNES, I think.
Somewhere
SNES,
in
yeah, SNES.
Super
SNES.
yeah, I think Super Nintendo.
SNES.
But that was a huge game that had a story to it that's still you can go back and play that game and it's still a good game.
What comes to mind for me, and just because it's cartridge based, is Pokemon Red and Blue version. And the reason that comes to mind, but now thinking about it more, well, let me finish the thought first. So, like what Lucas is saying, I don't remember the storyline, and then Jimmy's, these games have great storyline now, not so much then. It wasn't really the story of the game that made me have this tie to the character, but it was the journey that me and this character went on. Like, it was the journey that me and Squirtle and Pikachu and Pidgey went on when I was little with my friends that means so much to me, that brings this nostalgia aspect back. That Game Freak knew of, which is why in X and Y they have a lot of the main 151 with Mega Evolutions, and you get the Kanto starters going forward, because it wasn't this big storyline like you're a 10-year-old leave and go get badges. It was the journey that you go through. It wasn't like story driven at all. I feel like there wasn't this big plot twist or anything like that. It was just the grinding that me and this little guy did together to be able to make my 10-year-old self get this last badge and capture this amazing Pokemon at the end that made me feel awesome.
One of my favorite games came from, I was 10-year-old at the time, and I think a lot of people forget that it's technically a nostalgic game. Metal Gear Solid. They did story. I think they pushed the envelope in terms of storytelling within a game. And
before you continue, I feel like that was the big difference between Nintendo 64 and PlayStation. Was Nintendo 64 was like mainly kid-oriented and really fun, and I loved it. But PlayStation was more like the older kids, like more hardcore gamer, long, intense story. Mm-hmm. Sorry, continue.
No, what I was getting at is that, what was it, 1985, when the first Metal Gear came out. And then they just, even then it had a pretty good story. But a lot of it came back to nostalgia. They revamped the whole thing, gave it some new graphics. It was almost a retelling of the 1985 version. But even now, when they released Metal Gear Solid 4, it had elements of nostalgia. You revisited Shadow Moses within the game, and you played the PlayStation 1 version of Metal Gear Solid, and I love what they did with that. So it brings me back to what I felt back in 6th grade, and they again pushed the envelope of graphics as well as story.
I feel like that was a big thing about Square Enix games as well, like with Final Fantasy and then again Kingdom Hearts, and just anytime I can talk about it, I want to throw that in the sentence. Was they pushed the envelope for graphics, and then also you get a pretty incredible storyline in there as well. And I feel like that they figured out a way around it to achieve it with like the turn-based gameplay. You don't have to, have this intense, crazy gameplay. It's just these little like scenes that you play through, and then you pick up again and continue doing what you were doing, which is a lot what Pokemon did as well, and then Fire Emblem as well.
I guess that'd be easier to do on the developer.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's cool when we see like new games that still use turn-based stuff, like the new Fire Emblem or XCOM.
I love XCOM. I've been playing that. I have it on my iPad and my phone, and on my breaks at work, I find myself playing a little bit of XCOM.
Yep.
That's such a good game.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played a turn-based game since, was it Urges on PlayStation 2? No one even knows what I'm talking about.
Nope, nothing.
Urges.
You guys know what
everyone
Urges
knows
is.
that.
Leave a comment and be like, I remember Urges, so Louis doesn't feel so lonely.
It's cool. They even had like a mini game set like apart from the story mode, and you could even play as a fighter. It almost felt like Final Fantasy.
Okay.
So if anyone remembers Urges, comment please.
Louis needs to know. So those were the main topics that we wanted to, or the main comments that we wanted to touch on.
I'm sorry. Urges was the mini game. It was the bouncer.
So
no, I'm talking about
Bouncer?
two different games. The bouncer was the
Go home, Louis.
the bouncer
You're
was
drunk.
the turn-based game. I'm thinking of two different games.
All right.
I am talking about Urges.
Are you sure? Okay.
One of the two.
So thank you guys for watching. We plan on doing more recap shows like this. We just want to let you know that your voices are heard when you do leave us comments. We also want to announce that we're going to be posting daily updates on our Twitter, which is all new nerd news, video game related stuff, comic book related stuff, movie related stuff even as well. So if you want kind of that one-stop shop for all your nerd stuff, you can follow us on Twitter. We'll be hitting you up with that. Upcoming topics we want to dive into are going to be a lot about shooters, because the next gen consoles coming out, like all the launch titles are like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Killzone, like 3 shooters all coming out at the same time. We want to have a show about that. That'll probably be a multiple part show as well, because there's just so much to go over. Mobile gaming and what that looks like right now. I want to talk about next gen consoles as well. So again, thank you guys for watching. You can follow us on Twitter for all new news. Subscribe to our new news.
New news.
Not old news,
like that, yeah,
but
new
new news.
New news.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get hit up with all the videos, and you guys have a wonderful night.
Put your whiskey down.
I don't want to.
It's not whiskey. It's scotch.
Scotch, sorry. Put your scotch down.